Hi, my name is Annie Ratner, and I'm a senior here at Frisco High School. This is my second year in ISM, and I decided to go on a very different path than I did last year, because last year I studied interior design, and this year I decided to study marketing. And a little backstory on how I came to that conclusion. Last year as a junior, I decided to study marketing when I first got into ISM. And I quickly decided that was too boring for me and I wasn't going to like it, so I switched to interior design. And then this year, I started out studying statistics because I was going the mathy analytical route. And then I decided that marketing was going to be more my speed. So even though I thought it would be boring before, I was wrong. I actually really like it, and it's been a really cool experience. So to begin, what really is marketing? It's kind of a really broad term, and not everyone knows exactly how to define it. And it's basically the process of promoting and selling a product or a service. And it encompasses a lot of different parts, including how you're going to create buzz about your product and how you're going to sell your product to a certain market. So that's kind of what marketing is. And this year I'm focusing a lot on the social media aspect of marketing, which includes how to use social media to create that buzz about a product. So my interviews, I got to do 5 interviews this year, and I think that all 5 of my interviews gave me a very good idea of how different jobs within marketing work together, because all the people I interviewed had very different positions. When I was still interested in statistics, I interviewed Sherry Batts and Jeremy McMains, who worked at Dr. Pepper Snapple Group, and they worked in category management, and this was a career that I didn't really know existed, because they basically focus on how they're displaying products within their retail stores. And so, for example, they think about, like, for example, when you walk into a gas station, they focus on how their products are being displayed in that gas station to maximize their productivity and their sales. And they use a lot of data and go through data from their company and data from other companies to figure out how they are going to best position their products within stores. So that was something I didn't really know was a career, because it's just kind of out there, but it's definitely a very analytical and data based job. The next person I interviewed was Vandita Pandy, and she worked at Frito-Lay, and she worked in marketing analytics. So this interview I had with her kind of shifted me more towards marketing, because she really did get to focus on the analytical side, which I thought was fascinating. But I really enjoyed marketing and hearing about that, and that was the first interview I kind of shifted my thinking. And so she gets to work with advertising on the internet and on TV, and she looks at the data on how well those ads are doing for the company and how to improve their initiatives, and she also focuses a lot on forecasting. And what I really liked about forecasting is that it gives her an opportunity to say, I think this is what's going to happen, and then depending on whether or not the results match up with what she said was going to happen, she has to do a lot of defending like her role and what she did. And so I like this because it's kind of like a puzzle. She kind of has to put the pieces together and figure out how is what we're doing here at the company going to affect the company negatively or positively. So then, after I switched to marketing and decided that was something I really want to pursue, I had an interview with Blair Long, who worked at JCPenney. And she works in event marketing, which is actually really different than the kind of marketing that I was interested in. But it was really fascinating because she gets to work a lot with creating parties for with celebrities to promote their products, and also just finding ways to, again, increase that buzz about the products of JCPenney. So one thing we talked about that I thought was really interesting was every company right now is trying to promote Star Wars 7 because that's a huge thing and everyone wants to make their little bit of money off of it. And so she was talking to me about what JCPenney was doing, and part of her job is to create events that will kind of bring in that buzz. So she paired Star Wars and the buzz about Star Wars with something that JCPenney could do in the cosmetic and hair department. So for Halloween they had this promotion where anyone who wanted to be Princess Leia could come into JCPenney and for $5 get a Princess Leia hairdo. And so she was kind of part of creating that kind of event. And so that was just one of the examples that she was talking about. And it was something that is really relatable right now because of Star Wars being so popular. So I found the event marketing side very interesting, and it was definitely a more fun and creative atmosphere than the marketing analytics that I got to learn about with Miss Pandy's interview. So then after that, I really wanted to focus more on a strategic side. So the next person I interviewed was Jolan Victor, who worked at Frito-Lay, and her role was in innovation. And I had never really thought innovation and this whole creative side was a really huge part of marketing, but from this interview I learned that she actually does play a huge part of marketing with innovation, because she gets to almost invent new chip flavors and work with a team to figure out what the next best thing for the company is going to be as far as flavors or packaging and stuff like that. And what was really cool is that the first thing that she told me when we got there is that there's a kitchen in Frito-Lay in their research and development building where if they want to create a new flavor, they just make a bunch of different foods and they all go taste them. So for example, the one that she had given me was if they wanted to make a hamburger flavored chip, they would just go down in this kitchen and make a ton of different hamburgers and then have everyone go eat the hamburgers and write down all the reasons why they liked each one of the different hamburgers. And then they would take those reasons and try to implement them into a chip. And so that seemed that was like a lot more than I realized went into just a flavor and a chip. And so I thought that was really fascinating, and I really enjoyed learning about how innovation plays such a large role in marketing, and I think that the creative job she's able to have was really, really cool. So then, the very last person I interviewed was Michael Kasberg, who works at JCPenney, and he's the social media analysis and strategist there. And he works on the marketing team, but he works on an even smaller team, which is the social media team. And I absolutely love this interview. It was my favorite interview that I ever went on because his team gets to work in this big room where they get to collaborate together and be creative and work together aside from just like cornering themselves off in a cubicle and doing all their work there. And he's telling me they have cubes, but they like to spend all their time together because that creates the most productivity and the best ideas. And so basically what he does is look at what JCPenney is putting out on social media and look at what other companies are putting out on social media, and he focuses on how can JCPenney change what they're putting on the social media to improve the buzz that they're getting online. And so he does that kind of analysis, and then he told me that when he first signed on there, he decided to take it to the next level, and he really wanted to be a part of strategizing how they were going to change, because he does get to work with the social media a lot. So that was something I really enjoyed, and the coolest thing that he told me was that, and it was really true, that social media is something that no company really understands yet. I mean, we all use our Facebook and our Twitter, and we put stuff out there all the time, but the companies haven't really figured out the set way to have the best result on social media. And so that's something that they're still trying to understand. So it makes his job constantly changing, and it's new every time he goes back to it. So that's really what I liked. So overall, I feel like my interviews were all very diverse and gave me a really good idea of how marketing and strategy and analytics all work together in this environment. So then I did some research, and one of the first things I researched was the importance of data in big business. And this was just interesting and reassuring for anyone who's going to the analysis and strategy side in business, because it just basically talked about how data is becoming more and more important every day, and in businesses now you really can't improve your productivity without looking at previous data from your company and from other companies to see what was working. So that was just kind of like a reassuring article to read about, saying if you're going into business and you want to do analytics and strategy, that's a good thing to do. The next one I looked at was marketing on different platforms, including television and the internet. And because marketing on television is a lot different than marketing on the internet, because I learned about how the internet has these things called cookies. And cookies are basically where if you're going on the internet, they kind of find out what you're looking for, and then that you get all these ads based on your previous searches. So for example, for NCL I had to buy a dress, and so I was looking online for dresses, and I kept going on websites like Simply Dresses and stuff. So then I'd go to other websites for stuff that wasn't related, like to do like a research assessment or something, and all the ads would pop up. They'd be like dress related, and the reason why it's not a coincidence. They have cookies that are tracking what I'm searching for, so that they can throw up ads so that I can be attracted to things that I'm looking for. So it's very strategic these days, and that's something they can't really do on television. But one of the things that I learned out about in my interview with Vandita Pandey was that there are people that have figured out how to make it so that if you're avoiding commercials on television, they will send those same ads to your phone. So basically, they're going to get you no matter what. And so that's how the technology is changing, and that's how marketing on these different platforms is changing. And so I thought that was really interesting as well. The next thing I learned about was at our UNT trip in my marketing foundations class that I attended, and it was about product life cycles. And it was really cool to learn about how products are almost like organisms. They're born, and then they grow, and then they kind of mature and then die off. And so it's really important that as a company you're monitoring how your product is growing, and that you are noticing when it's dying so you can innovate to create new things. So one of my favorite things that the professor said there was that innovation is like an intersection. You're never going to have the next best thing unless you bring two worlds together, or two ideas together. And so that was something that I think is really important that you can take with you into any career, the fact that innovating is like an intersection. So that was really cool. And then the very last thing I looked into was scorecards, and I learned about a lot of this in my interviews as well as researching it. But scorecards are something that everyone really gets in the business environment, and it shows the success of the company, the success of different departments within the company, and the success of individuals within the company, and how what they're doing and the initiatives they're taking are affecting the success overall. And so these scorecards are really important because people that work in marketing can look at them and say, this is how what I've done is affecting the company. And so then they can make changes based on those results. So with that, I ended up choosing Michael Kasberg as my mentor, but I can't put him on here yet because he said yes, but he has to still check with his company to see if he's allowed to do that for sure. But in the spirit of social media, for my original work, I decided to study the most effective ways to use social media across platforms. So I've already narrowed it down to looking into Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter because those are the most popular platforms across all ages. And I'm just going to be focusing on what companies are doing right on social media to get the best attention and gain the best buzz. And then hopefully that'll help me find what the formula is to creating the best social media web page, because as Michael Kasberg said, my soon-to-be, hopefully, mentor, no one really knows how to use social media the right way yet. And so I'm hoping that maybe I can discover better ways to use it. So to wrap up, my quote for this year was, in my life, I found that every experience is a form of exploration. And this was the same quote I had last year, because really for me, ISM has been just exploring what's out there, because really it's impossible to know at 17 years old what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. And like every single one of the interviews I went on, none of them thought they would end up in those positions. So I'm really not afraid of what I'm going to do in the future, because I don't really know. But I know that if I just keep exploring and putting myself out there and finding out, you know, what jobs are out there, because I've already learned so much already about jobs that I didn't even know existed. I know if I keep learning and just gaining knowledge, I'll be fine in whatever I end up doing. So I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.